I will call the capital projects meeting to order, if I can, yeah. And let's start with water. We have a couple of big updates for water. Jackie, you want to start with Wellfleet, and then we'll talk about,
Yeah, so one of the handouts is Wellfleet. And it's just kind of like the mass map or GIS data layer, because I thought that was the easiest to see
make
all
sure
the
your
parcels.
mic is on. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Oh. Maybe that's better? Not working?
Maybe,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it's pretty rudimentary map, but the point just showing that we extended the water main up Route 6, and we were able to mostly stay in the shoulder, so right in front of the cinema, we cut into the asphalt and hooked into the hydrant that was at the town line. We removed that because DOT is doing some modifications to the guardrail there. Then we hooked up the cinema, Maurice's campground. We went halfway down Gill Road to also put fire protection there and another hookup for the cinemas building. And then we ended up stopping at the lodge and motel just there, provided service to them, service for Mass Audubon. And all in all, that was the budget, at least for everything, all the permitting, what was voted at town meeting, everything was around $1 million. So we kept within that between all the costs. So they did that work pretty much most of April, kind of took them a month. All that's left is the final trench paving. So they did the temporary patch. They'll have to go back and put 7 to 10 inches, overcut the trench, and Diggett's planning on doing that next week.
That's
So the
awesome.
blue's complete.
Yep.
Yes, yeah. And I would just make a note that when Jackie, when you said we connected the cinema, we didn't actually connect them. We left them stubs on their property line. So it's, you know, they take it from there, so.
They must be extremely happy.
I think so. It's been a long slog.
2016.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
How they stay open.
It was only a concept in 2016. Well, it's actually a trust.
I mean,
Yeah. They are the largest landowner in Wellfleet, other than the town of Wellfleet.
driving,
Yeah. It's a huge,
no, whenever I go to the
Parcel.
movies there, it's 5, 6 people.
yeah. I guess the Cape Cinema just closed down over
No.
Dennis.
I saw it for the month.
Just to save
Maybe permanent.
budget.
I wonder.
It's too bad. It's a great little venue.
Yeah, it is.
They do some good things over there.
well, they're going to be generating energy with solar panels. That's their new thing.
Cape Cinema or?
Or-
No, the drive-in, that's why they
Drive-in.
wanted the water
Yeah.
connection.
What was that?
Their solar expansion was contingent on them having water.
Yep.
Put out the fire.
We stayed on the shoulder.
We don't know. I think but they did have 5 public water supply wells, which is, I mean, that's
Yep.
intense.
It's-
That's
it's on
5
their
wells to
property.
monitor, to test,
Yep.
so,
Same here at Maurice's,
but that's
Yep.
excellent.
and here.
Yeah, for all of them, we left their connections so they don't have to dig up the highway.
Awesome. So then when Diggett wraps everything up, then we can do final costs and bill people. Awesome.
Yep.
It's funny, all the planning and permitting, and it gets done in like a month.
I know, right? It was like years.
Yeah, we did have
Was.
some nice weather for it.
Did you see, there was a little bit of conversation on Facebook about it, you know?
In a way, it was kind of nice that Lawrence Lynch was doing their whole
Yes,
drainage and pavement
yes.
plan, because we kind of just blended in to the milieu,
Yeah,
so.
it's true.
We did, Fred pointed out, so we kept this as a 12-inch main. We do have the loop that we connected Whelpley Road, like just under the town border, so we have that loop already. And our hydraulic model was showing that plenty of fire flow here and all throughout that main, we just upsized it. So when, it isn't an issue that we didn't tie down West
Connect.
Road.
Do we have a pipe all the way there? To the, behind the center?
Nope.
So we don't feed this can,
No.
We don't. If we ever wanted, to, if the town ever wanted to take the next step, we could, extend from the town line on Herringbrook, I guess it turns into West Road
Right.
there, and connect it to Gill.
the line stops here at Hatches Creek.
Current line stops at Hatches Creek. There's a hydrant on the end of the road there with a yellow, it's painted yellow on the top. That signifies end of the line. Yeah.
And the problem with all of that is that it's private, so we'd have to have private, the construction, the permitting, all of that would have to be paid for privately by,
Is this where I don't want to call it a motorhome, but is that where it is?
Yeah, Massasoit,
It's here, right?
Massasoit Hills.
Where Carl does live? Is that
yeah.
here?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. It's in Wellfleet, though.
It's in Wellfleet. And they just paid, I mean, they just paid a few years ago for a full, huge septic system, and I don't know what their water situation is. Hillary, do you know anything about that? Is it, like, they must have a big public water supply of some kind? You're muted.
Sorry, they have a public water supply well that
Still
serves
muted.
all of.
Uh-oh. Do I have to do something? Turn up volume. Wait a minute. Talk again.
So they have a public water supply well, obviously regulated by Mass DEP, that serves all of the units.
Hold on, he's going to turn on something.
Now we should be able to hear her.
So can you hear me?
Perfect, thank
Loud and
you.
clear.
Okay, yeah, so they do have a public water supply well, obviously regulated by Mass DEP, and they have their wastewater treatment plant. And they are in conformance with the requirements.
So there's no desperate need for them to,
There's no desperate need, but I'm sure it's a cost savings to transfer to a municipal water line.
Yeah.
And it's obviously better for public health, so.
okay. So the update on contract 23. Want me to take a stab at this, Jackie, or do you want to?
I guess I'll explain it. So that's one of the maps. We have progress maps. So kind of the way we did the phasing, I think we talked about before, is we had 23 contracts, and the contract 23 was really just the seashore areas. So we have one of our well stations at the high school, so anything east, and then the other connection is Doan and Nauset. And the intent was always to hook up the bathhouses at the beaches. That would be a huge user. And we were really kind of going under the assumption that we had to bring water to every parcel. But I think Jackie talked to legal, and the town appropriation doesn't actually require that anymore. So that kind of came up in the conversation. But really just all of this permitting, we had it all permitted, we had it out to bid, it was just lingering on the seashore. And their policies changed so that we had to do extensive survey work, a lot more archaeological work. We hadn't even included Tomahawk Trail because they had demolished some of those houses. So that was going to have a whole separate archaeological assessment, even though we were mostly in the road. So we were looking at between time delays for permitting, all the surveying costs, adding in the road, the archaeological costs, could even be upwards of $2 million added to the work that we were doing, and the bid itself was just under $3 million. So I think looking at that,
It was roughly a cost of, for the 80 users that we'd connect, $35,000 per person.
and a lot of that was, I don't know if you can really tell on this map, but on Cable Road, these houses are within seashore parcels. So it wasn't enough that we were just going to put our main there and leave a curb stop in the right-of-way. The seashore was looking for more permitting, essentially, to do the permitting in case somebody wants to hook up. They'd have to do a survey themselves, fair market value, legal easements, just to bring their line from the road to their house. And they were almost looking for us to either do all that paperwork, and then it would get renewed. So you could do all this paperwork and someone could decide not to hook up, or they were looking for us to actually run the lines to people's parcels and pay for all of that ahead of time. And that's kind of what was baked into the cost.
And the permitting in and of itself, the standards have changed, and they caught us off guard with Nauset Light Beach Road, of course, that we've been struggling with for years. So we've had to resurvey that road. This is going to be the, I don't know, 5th revision that we've done. And so even the survey standards that we have to do for the land exchange for the other 2 parcels, the cost is like 4 times as much as it would have been because of their new standards of regulation. So with that in mind, I mean, the select board we have discussed this contract with the select board pretty consistently since 2017, 2018, because it has always been a very few amount of parcels for, as you can see, a very long run of pipe. And I'm not aware of any other Cape town that has the policy to bring water to every single parcel. And we did talk about that, and that was part of this system beginning. So I always assumed that it was part of the article in legal language, and so just had Koppelman and Page look at that, and it is not. So at this point, it's not just the extra $2 to $3 million, which we wouldn't want to spend on this, but it's also the time, because this is our last contract. So we don't have the luxury we had in 2018 of just juggling things around, because we have, 7 more contracts left. So we can't lose the time keeping engineers here for God knows how long. And I think the permitting process that we went through in 2014-15 was almost 2 years long. So, for
Does
the park.
anybody have any need for the water as far as problems with the wells or anything, or?
Well, until recently, no one was interested except the park properties, and maybe, I'm not aware of anybody directly on Cable Road, but nobody except for the park properties, was interested in hooking up. But right now, what's happening is the erosion is so bad on the ocean side that despite building the new road, some of their parcels they're having to move their homes back. And so when they move their homes back, even though they began with an over 3-acre site, they're now down to not a lot of space to put a well and a septic system. So we are now having people say, oh, it would be nice if we could hook up to water, and we would have wanted to. So we're going to have a meeting with that neighborhood, definitely. But I was wondering, I mean, it could be easier in the future, maybe, Hillary, to see if we have any town-owned land to help them do a single well that maybe we could permit to hook up to several residences. I don't know if they'd be interested in the cost of that, but.
We could certainly look into that.
What do you call it when it's like a shared well? We had one for years on,
There's one on Old Orchard.
yeah, on Old Orchard.
The community, a
Community
public
pub-
community well.
Okay. So we'll have to discuss that with them. But the Seashore was happy. They were fine. I thought they would be upset, but they were fine.
Yeah,
So,
I
They
think,
draw their water from wells now. It's too short.
right. Yes, Fred?
So, from a monetary perspective, these people have been paying into the system, so what do we
That's
do
right.
about that? I mean, they could sue us, right?
I mean, John Giorgio doesn't think they'd prevail, but they could sue us based on the fact that, this is what was presented. And that's why, one of my ideas was to set aside a certain amount of money, because obviously, we won't be spending the full contract value. We will be spending something because we've engaged a contractor and had him go through the bidding process and order pipe and all that. So, to set aside some amount of money to work on a solution like a joint community well or something like that for the people that would need it in the future.
But we could figure out, and we probably should, what they've paid in so far, because they've been paying from the beginning, right? And some of these properties are valued a lot higher than my house is, so they probably paid a lot more into the system than I have. I I just think it's an outstanding liability we should be aware of.
Okay. I mean, I don't think that it is a public good, you know, and even though they have not, they won't receive direct benefit from it, they will receive some benefit from it in terms of fire suppression and other issues that we can't get too close to them, but, you know, we're trying to get as close as possible.
Tough sell, I think. And,
Plus, we're giving them a new road and new electric. We didn't charge them for that.
well, what about the people on Doan Road?
Doan Road, they get nothing. I think that one's really complicated, you know.
Well, I mean,
The only
my-
other
my
water
understanding
quality
is we
issues.
sold this system, because I was with it at the
Yeah.
beginning, that everybody was gonna pay for it and everybody would have access to it. So we're going back on that. And I don't disagree with
For,
doing it,
Good reason, yeah.
but I'm just pointing out that they have cause to come back after us.
Yeah, I think initially, you know, there will be some messaging that we need to work out, because I have been contacted, as a lot of people do. We go out there, we kind of like get, you know, stakes in the ground, we start laying things out. We kind of got
Done that, yeah.
that process going. So people will occasionally call me and wonder kind of where we stand. I haven't thankfully gotten any calls since we had the meeting with the national park, but I did want to, you know, get with you and the group and just make sure that the messaging is correct, because, you know, when the phone does ring, I just want to make sure that,
Well, and a lot of these people wouldn't hook up anyway, because a lot of these houses are so far
no,
from the road.
what I'm finding is that
Not about
there's,
8
yeah, I'd say,
to 10 call.
Yeah.
10%.
yeah, there's, you know,
A lot
and
of those houses on Doan Road are way off the road.
Doan isn't a real problem. There are water quality issues on the southern end of this, but it's also the highest area of Native American artifacts too, so it's just the southern location is even trickier than the northern location.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got 9 people who have somehow, whether just to inquire about location of the curb stop, have reached out to me. So,
And no, the only one that was poor water quality was Tomahawk.
Yeah,
Besides that, everybody else is just want.
and sometimes it's
The
more,
Citra owns almost all those houses anyway, except for the ones on,
yeah.
there's a few on one end of the road.
But there are 2 or 3 houses there that do have saline intrusion, right? I think that's the issue there.
What kicks off the permitting requirements, the depth of the excavations, or just disturbing any land at all?
Just in that area.
Disturbing
that general
any
area.
land at all. So for instance, we've already paid to survey this whole contract. We've paid for test pits on the contract. Then they made me do another permitting and test pits to do the new road. So we've done it twice. So this would be the 3rd time that we've paid to go down the same route.
When we did the test holes, we had to,
It's just crazy the way they don't consider, like, what would have trained, I understand their new survey standards, maybe I do, but I do not understand how they could say that artifacts have moved, or, you know, if we did 50 test pits down that road, why would we have to do 50 more, you know, so.
see,
It
we're
is
getting along
aggravating.
well with the Seashore these days.
Yeah, it was going along so well for my first, I don't know, 7, 8 years, but.
And it's 2 million or 3 million?
Well, the sort of back of the envelope
Yeah, back.
that they did was over 2 million
2.
in 2 years, 2 million in a year and a half to 2 years.
Plus the cost of the actual contract itself.
Right, then we'd have to go out to bid again 3 years from now and start a whole construction process that's done over again,
Did you say the pipe's already been purchased?
some of it. But we think we could reuse that.
yeah, how many feet of, we only bought the 8-inch, correct?
Yep.
We have roughly 2,000 feet. So we have 2,000 feet of 8-inch pipe, and we're right now kind of turning the wheels, thinking of how we could utilize that. Have we talked to you about that?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you want to talk about the
So-
old?
So the one component of the system in Eastham now that's not, new effectively is on Ellis Road, and, Old State Highway, kind of behind the Knack there. There's a little section that is actually Eastham. It takes you from kind of the Goose Hummock up to Collins Cottages. That section of pipe was installed in the sixties. Up until 2015, when we installed our main, that was connected to the Eastham, or.
Orleans.
The Orleans system. Just due to poor water quality, which is pervasive along Town Cove. So, when we hooked up to it, it's Eastham's pipe now, but it's cast iron. There could be, lead and copper services in there, we just don't know, we don't have great records on it. So part of the DEP now requires you to do a lead and copper survey, which is gonna be something that the town's obligated to do, coming up soon, right? Those deadlines are this year, yeah. So,
From the pipe to the house?
so this is a good question, I don't think I don't think we do, but in that scenario,
Oh, yeah.
we,
Would we want to?
Oh, no.
there,
Well, I think the regulations, we don't.
You
The
don't?
water system regulations, no.
All right, so we just own the pipe of the road?
right,
Yeah.
typically you own to the property line and the meter.
Because you're more often gonna find the lead between the,
But if those pipes are 40 or 50 years old, then the chance of leakage is going to be
Right, there's
high.
probably old galvanized pipe in there and who knows what else.
so how many feet of pipe is in that?
So it's roughly 2,000 feet, I believe, to do that whole stretch. So that's a coincidence that could be beneficial, but that's one location. And then the other material that we have is hydrants, which are, on that little stretch, we'd probably have 3 or 4 hydrants probably. We have more than that, so that would be one thing that we have a surplus of. But they're your standard Mueller hydrant, which is, utilized by most every municipality in the state. So something could probably be, a home could be found for those, I'm sure.
Is the cost of restocking by the contractor exorbitant because of labor? That wouldn't be worth it, or?
We could definitely look into that.
If you're not gonna be using it.
Yeah. Yeah, we could,
They
That's
definitely
something-
sell more than what we paid for them.
Right, we could recycle it,
yeah.
recycle up. So that's the conundrum, and I haven't even discussed this with the select board yet, because really, we met with the Seashore. These guys met with the Seashore 2 weeks ago or so, and then I met with Jennifer Flynn, the new superintendent, and then we all met last week. So this is hot off the press.
But they're not, this is not new news to them. I mean, you've been talking about this for years.
No. And we've been talking about the problems with it for years, but we were thinking that the permitting that we did, the extent of the permitting that we did in 2015 or whenever it was, 2016, would be, sufficient, so.
80 property owners, you said?
80, including all the Seashore properties and all the homes in that whole loop.
Is this gonna affect us on wastewater too?
No, because wastewater, Hillary can explain this better than I can, but the ocean side of Eastham, other than Town Cove and Salt Pond, is not, that no one's worried about it.
Maybe not that we're not worried about it, because we're worried about all of the properties, right, and the wastewater that they generate, but they're not in the area that we're focusing on first.
But they're not gonna make us do more archaeological surveys?
No.
No. No, we're out of the park for all of our wastewater studies so far. Yeah.
We could, the only other locations that we had archaeological surveys were Fort Hill, and Mary Chase Road, just because that's a lot of cultural sensitivity down there as well. So I would anticipate if we did go there, that
We'd have to do that again, yeah. And that is probably more likely phase 2.
Yeah.
Has the contractor been given a stop order?
They've been informally notified that kind of things are in flux.
So they're not incurring any costs?
No, we essentially told them not to, don't make any, like,
Mobilize.
don't mobilize, don't buy anything, you know, just kind of sit tight
Is
for
it
now.
one of the ones we've used before?
Yeah, yeah, they're understanding, so. But we do have to kind of examine that off-ramp and see how we,
Could we pivot and do that, replace that contract, this, you know, southernmost around the neck? Could we do that contract instead of this one?
which we we would probably have to rebid, I think, potentially.
Yeah.
I think,
I would think so.
yeah.
I mean, the benefit of it would be that all of our infrastructure would be the same age roughly and the same quality. So for capital planning in the future, it would be beneficial.
And you can get out from underneath any sort of DEP kind of historical requirements where you have, you know, unknown infrastructure.
Right.
But there should be archaeological stuff down in that area too, but we're not,
There could be, actually, I don't know.
well, anyway, near the water, those.
It's different, though, I mean, not that they won't make us do test pits, because they probably will, but it's different when you're digging up something that already exists
But
versus,
it's not the park this time, it's somebody else.
Yeah, that's not the park,
Yep.
right?
Sorry.
so, we're gonna talk to Diggett. When will we get any estimates on price? We haven't even done engineering for that section, though.
No, and the thing that would also be different on that small section down there is everybody's currently on the system.
Right.
So it's unique in the sense that all the construction up until this point has been new. There, we could potentially have to do a temporary water main where you see it kind of like strung out on the surface.
Yeah.
It's not 100% required, like, you know, if you can put the water main on one side and avoid it, and then you bring it online,
Can connect?
and then connect them live, which actually in that area could happen because if really all the houses are on, you know, one side of the road for the most part, except for Ellis Road. So if you went on the, you know, the outboard.
Side of the houses.
Yeah, you went on the outboard side, across the street from the houses, you know all the lateral lines are going to the houses, you could put your water main in, get it all live, get it tested, and then just plug into that and just essentially,
One day.
yeah.
High water table down there?
Oh, yeah.
Probably. You'd be working in the water.
On Old State, it's not as bad, but once you come down to Goose Hummock and go around to Ellis Landing, there's a low spot right there, and then Ellis comes back up a hill, so.
Yeah.
But they put in deep
Is
sewer.
Goose
there.
Hummock on, do
Goose,
we own that one too?
Goose Hummock's Orleans.
Oh, wait, so just from the neck, and the other
Yeah,
end of Goose Hummock, there's two pieces of Goose
It's a
Hummock.
weird shape because it's behind the neck. It goes almost right up to Goose Hummock, right?
Right,
Or
so the Nax property is actually, I think,
Orleans.
cut in half.
Yeah.
There's a small sliver of Eastham, and then you have and then Goose Hummock, you might actually have a small section in Eastham as well, or maybe not.
Paddle place, I'm thinking about.
That's Goose Hummock as well, I
Right,
think, yeah, I think they own it all.
I think they do because Goose Hummock uses some of our mooring space.
Yeah.
They drifted out into Eastham.
Well, I notice we have a boat down there now.
Yeah.
Maybe we should have put the harbor master over there.
I think ballpark, that would be around $1 million.
Not, that sounds less expensive than I would have thought.
How many properties are
I want to say 30?
Yeah, something like 30, 35.
But you're already getting the revenue from them.
Right. It's just that, you know, if we have a water main break down there because of old pipe, you know, that's it's probably going to cost $1 million. You know, like it easily, if we have to mobilize a crew and call in an engineer and, you know, while they're here, it's just so great to get everything we can done. And that's sort of the premise that we've been going under, but.
I think we flagged it too, because, or Wes would know better, I think Whitewater had some issues operating some of those hydrants
Yeah.
as part of their
And
maintenance.
the gate valves.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so.
Do we have hydrants too in stock? I think I
Yeah.
missed that.
And we did get, I updated the budget. For 2E, we got the extra principal forgiveness, so we're at 30.3% loan forgiveness on the 2E portion.
That is
that money.
amazing. 30, Thank you, ARPA.
Overall, right?
For that loan, I think in the beginning, we were getting around 17%, and then the last two loans, we applied for the extra categories, and the last two are, I think, around 30%.
And I think last year alone, that was like $4.5 million. It's not minor.
So what are you doing with all the money?
We just we don't have to borrow.
Did the contractor that bid 2E, including all the seashore stuff, has he revised the, split it up?
Oh, yeah, so 2E was already broken up into two
It was.
contracts.
Okay.
Or
And
three,
this-
actually.
This all was one, or?
Yep,
this was one
exactly.
piece? So it's easy to take it out?
Easy, yeah.
We're just-
So we'll have to give you an update next month on, unless you want to opine on what you think. But that's what I was thinking even before, Hillary and I haven't talked about it, but I was thinking if there's any way we could do some kind of community well option up for those parcels that are looking to connect, and do the South Ellis Road area for the same amount of money, that would be awesome.
Still a real spread out area, though. I mean, a community well, you'd still have to get the water to the property.
You'd have to run water to the properties, yeah. And that,
And you'd have to dig in the seashore.
the issue would be, it would be the same thing, where we'd have 2 years. But if I set aside the money, we could set aside the money now and then start the permitting and do it as one project 3 years from now or something.
Was that well station and the tank that was put in there often, was that expressly for what you thought this was gonna be, this part of the project, or did you need that anyway?
No, that was
No, we need
part of
that
it.
I just
anyway.
wanted to make,
Yeah,
So that will be, one, it will be the second tank in town, which redundancy is,
Right,
you know,
right, 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 right.
king. So it'd be really nice to have that, because not too long, we'll have to, go to the first tank.
It's showing its age.
yeah, we
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
paint it already.
That Brewster,
Sand and gravel there.
yeah,
I know.
it's rusting.
They tend to get almost like a,
It's got almost a mildew look
like
on
a
the
algae
side.
almost
Yeah.
grows on the outside of it, just because it's,
Well,
a lot of times the thing will
temperature.
just be dripping, because it
Yeah.
forms
Sweats.
condensation on the outside.
So that's water, and we can come back at our next meeting and,
The new tower's going on nicely.
yeah, it seems to be going on
And I
pretty
just-
well.
I stop in there once a week, just check it out. It's pretty impressive.
Same style?
Same style, yeah.
Is the one in Northeast Ham is concrete all the way
Yep,
up to? Oh,
yep, and it's actually cool, so when they build the actual top of it, it's concrete pedestal,
Yeah,
and then it has a steel
Branches out, right.
tank, so
Yeah.
they'll build a steel tank on the
They're
bottom,
doing that right now, yeah.
kind of all around the concrete pedestal, and then one day,
They lift it.
they lift it, so, everything's,
people that-
nothing's
that
happening,
Bruce
nothing's
Sand and
happening,
Gravel
and all of a
said
sudden,
it
if
was
you're looking
a
above the
great
tree line on the right day, you'll just see this big tank pop up.
That's when we'll start getting the phone calls.
Oh,
I don't remember voting for this.
See it back there?
You really can't, I don't
No.
think, you can see it, I've been going around, and the
We did the balloon tests, and it's not, on the balloon tests, it was just like a vague,
Yeah. Well, the crane's up there right now, and the crane
It's
is
way up, yeah.
effectively as tall as the tank will be. And I've been going around and trying to find out where you can see it from.
and of
If
course,
you're-
the crane's a bit orange, so.
Right. If you're at Fort Hill and you look in the distance, you'll be able to see it a little bit in the back. If you're at Coast Guard Beach, you'd have to really kind of wrench around and,
But nobody's looking that way from Fort Hill.
no,
No.
they shouldn't be. Their view should be directed towards the marsh. Hey, what are you?
Put a sign up.
Yeah, hey, what are you looking at?
Okay. We move on to wastewater? Okay. So I'm still, I know, I sound like a broken record. I'm still waiting for contracts, but we're closing in on the EPG contract, aren't we, Jackie?
I was hoping today, but
And GHD did an update, Hillary, on the contract that we have with them now. And,
They filed a contract amendment so that we could finish up the MIPA permitting. They did submit a proposal, or intend to do so shortly for the other portion of the work for the treatment plant.
oh, good, okay. I have not gotten that yet.
Okay, it's coming very soon too.
Okay, good, excellent. And do you want to talk about the MIPA process? Because that's where we are currently, not
Yeah.
stalled, we're moving.
We're moving. It just feels like it's glacially slow. But I think these large projects tend to go that way. So we did get the certificate as we expected on April 8th from the Secretary of Energy and Environmental Affairs. And that outlined the process that we need to move forward. And it also determined that we need to file this single environmental impact report. And so we essentially need to repackage what we gave them in the TWMP in a specific way so that their folks can review it further and provide slightly more detail on a number of different areas, such as environmental justice, community outreach, public health impacts. They wanted some updated maps and plans. There was a decent amount of confusion surrounding the PRB, the permeable reactive barrier, because when we initially crafted the TWMP, the PRB was going to be in a different location. So we've since realized we can't put it in that location because of the Park Service and, of course, the historical resources in some of the areas where we needed it to go. So we're now looking at a north-south location instead of an east-west location. So there were several comments from Alex at the MIPA office, and CZM submitted a comment letter on that as well. There were some comments on the location of the treatment facility because they wondered if the site assignment for the transfer station took up that whole parcel. So we've been working with the assessor's office to determine where exactly the site assignment is and is not, because a number of different parcels were merged together to form one large parcel that the town took ownership of. So we have a little bit more work to do. It doesn't seem insurmountable. And so we respond to the comment letters that we received. We respond to the comments from the MIPA office. And then we package that all together and submit that by June 17th. We did reach out to Verdantis, who's one of our other contractors, to assist us on the PRB comments so we can make sure we capture that accurately in the response. So then it goes out for another public comment period. I believe it's 30 days. And then once that public comment period ends, the secretary then has 7 days to issue us the final certificate, which will sort of give us the marching orders to move forward with conditions of the project. And again, it will only be for phase 1 of the project and nothing beyond that. So if that all goes as planned, and it seems like we're on the proper path to get it submitted by June 17th, which is the best we can do, then, you know, as we've talked about before, we'll be eligible to try and get on the state's list for SRF funding.
What was the time limit they have to respond? Did you say 30 days?
So there's 30 days for comments, and then there's a special 7-day period where the secretary drafts the certificate. So it goes out for another 30-day comment period. And what's interesting is that our friends in Orleans didn't write us a letter of support. So I think we want to have that conversation with them at our next meeting. And the Seashore, we talked about a positive letter of support because we know that they need to hook the visitor center up to the sewer. But we didn't receive a letter from them. So I think we might want to go out and try and solicit those 2 letters because we did get a positive letter from the Cape Cod Commission, and I think 2 more would just be nice.
Yeah, and definitely Orleans would do it. I think, did we not ask? Maybe we didn't ask them.
Yeah, no, we definitely didn't ask them, and it probably slipped their
Yeah,
mind.
okay.
Did we give them one?
I'm
Yes.
sure, yes.
Yes.
And we did Wellfleet, too.
Yes.
We're good neighbors.
What is the,
Everyone says so. Oh, I'm sorry.
just curious, what is the relationship between the funding and the approval now and the design? What's the order? SFR
So
funding
we
comes
need-
before the design, during the design, after?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you
It's
wanna-
sort of a concurrent, yeah, I can go at that. It's kind of a concurrent process because we need the certificate from the secretary that says that our project is not going to cause environmental or public health harm. We need the design because we need to know what we're permitting. And once we have all of those pieces together, then we have a complete filing package
For the funding?
Yes.
for the funding.
But Jackie, talk about that, because we have deadlines in August, and then October, and then
Right.
January.
So this August is for the SRF funding. That's where you just submit your project and then SRF evaluates it. Would you know ahead of time what it's going to be ranked at? Because they have specific criteria, and this is such a high priority. So it's separate from drinking water. They have a clean water fund. So in August, that's where they start ranking everything. And then depending on your ranking, they have a certain cutoff, which projects win. They usually know that by October. And then so January of next year, they'd come out with the intended use plan, which says if your project's on it, but that's the draft. They'll see who drops off. And then usually it's around March or April of next year, it will be finalized. And then when you have that in place, you can go to town meeting and have the town meeting vote. And from there, it would be October of next year when you would start submitting your construction phase application. So that's when you need all of your, I mean, you technically don't, but that's when you would want to have a lot of your permits done. And then you would have to bid it by spring of 2026 to get loan forgiveness and all that. So that's when you want approval to bid. But this is just the evaluation portion. You obviously need a lot of the permitting, but they don't look for that until the.
Right, and for the financing, that being listed on the intended use plan means that SRF has chosen us and ranked us, which is great, and we're looking for that, because we're chasing that 0% interest. And then it also means that we're automatically eligible for the Cape and Islands Water Protection Fund funding, which would be 25% of the project. So that's pretty critical going into a town meeting vote, to know that we have SRF 0% and we have 25% of the whole project paid for by another source.
Hey, we're going to town meeting with us in
Next May.
the next one? Next year?
Right now, we're going to town meeting next May, but all of these goals, all of these specific timeframes are annual. So if we miss one, if we miss one of them, then we're a year out. And just so.
But I
you-
think,
What, go
I was
ahead.
just gonna say, we're pushing hard not to miss any deadlines, because I think the farther we get away from it, the more expensive everything gets.
Yeah,
So-
that's true. And the other thing is, SRF funding is strange in that they do like a, and maybe you can explain it better. If I get this wrong, Jackie, I won't be hurt if you correct me, but they do like a temporary borrowing, like we would do a ban, and then they wait until they have a certain number of projects, or we're a certain way through, and then they bond the whole thing as a package. So if we borrow money in 2026, then we wouldn't have to start paying the debt service on that until 2028 or 2029. So that's what Rich's job is going to do. He's telling me, the later you can go, the better, because we have some debt drop-off coming from water. And it gives us a chance to take all these $1.5 million as in short-term rental tax and put it into a stabilization fund. So we want to do that as much as possible.
Hillary, can I ask, you said there were two things we need, we have the certificate from MEPA and the design. Those are two pieces we need to get done.
Yep.
So on the design side of it, is there an approval process that goes with that as well?
Yeah, like at 30%.
Yeah,
When
yeah,
do-
we don't
I mean, do we
have
have
the
to submit
contract
the
yet. with-
design and they have to approve that as well? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
No.
Actually don't know if the DEP, when they review the SRF applications, have to approve the design. I think it's understood what the design is. I don't know that there's a specific action for them to approve of the actual construction design documents. But
Jackie, can you
might
answer
know
that? Because on water, did we have to do that on water? I mean, they got really involved on the design of water, but,
ODP in the
yeah,
beginning.
yeah, they did.
SRF, I mean, no.
No,
they-
okay.
They might have comments if they want to have comments, but they're so busy. And I think, like Hillary said, that the initial permitting, it's all consistent in terms of they're looking at footage, where it is, how many plants, and that's kind of already established beforehand, and that's what they're kind of permitting on at the
But
beginning.
this first phase is just for the collection system, right?
No. It's for the
Collection and treatment.
Treatment and collection,
So you need to have the design for both, right?
right.
Mhm.
Which is
And I
why
think that's
we're
another
splitting
reason
it up
why
into
we-
two pieces
yeah.
now.
Yeah.
To meet the schedule, when do you have to be released as far as the design to start?
The design, like 100% done.
No, when do you have to get the go to start design? Sorry. Proposals are coming in to get approved.
Yep.
Then you have to be released on the contracts to start. When does that have to occur in order to meet the
Want to meet the schedule?
schedule?
I mean, obviously, the sooner the better, I think. And not that we want to be last minute, but there's like deadlines, certain DEP deadlines versus like real DEP deadlines. So even like the October deadline, that's when you submit it for your project approval certificate, like Jackie was kind of saying. But you have enough of a window until you go out to bid. So we really need, you don't have to have it 100% for October, and that rarely happens, and saying October next year. But we would have enough of a design, so April next year, we'd have the cost to be able to go to town meeting. And it really should be at 90% in that November next year, I would say.
So when you laid out those dates, the August date was when we have to submit this stuff to SRF?
Yes, and that's just the project overview so that they're able to rank it. So it's like basics.
This is what we intend to do.
And we're in good shape
Yeah.
for that deadline, right, for August? Yep.
Yep.
Provided we stick tight to the June 17th deadline.
Which Hillary is on, like a, yeah.
Well, only because it brings us to August 2nd for the certificate. So
Right.
there's not a
A lot of wiggle
wiggle
room.
And then after that, it was October, was the next date? did you
Yeah.
say?
Yep.
January.
Oh, that's right, January.
For January, they would release the plan.
What was the October, you kind of know
The
what
co-
they're
Oh, the
thinking.
construction
year.
phase plans to ready, basically go out to bid.
And January would be,
When you know what your ranking was and if you made it on the list to be funded.
Jackie, as the OPM, are you responsible for creating a CPM schedule for this whole design process?
Yep.
Okay. All right. It'd be nice to
We'll have
have one,
some.
then we wouldn't be asking these questions probably. though.
Well, we have a basic one now, but it's not
It's not up to date,
detailed,
though.
but it does definitely hit these targets. The only target it didn't have is the June 17th, because that's an additional one, so.
And it might be discouraging to look at it because I think certain things have been extended timeline wise. So it might be best to just get a new one and put that out.
and then the April date is what the project's gonna cost, so we have to tell the town meeting, is this for phase one, both pieces, right?
Right.
Okay.
Phase one, both pieces, and then
And who's gonna make that, are you guys gonna make that who's gonna make that cost estimate?
that cost estimate is going to be finalized by EPG in their contract. So the treatment plant costs will be estimated by GHD, and then we're paying EPG to do an additional level.
Right, but you're gonna do the collection cost, right?
Right.
And those are based on 30% drawings, you said, or 60%?
I mean, 30%'s the main driver.
Yeah. And that's
But we
where
have
we're
30, 60, 90 in the contract.
But we're going to town meeting with the estimates based on the 30%. So, and
They might be more than that by that time.
hopefully, in
Farther along.
April,
We're going to have two town meetings to do this. The first town meeting will be what we anticipate the whole package cost is. And then the second town meeting will be after we have been granted all the funding and we know and we've gone out to bid and we know what the contract amount is. And then we have a town meeting after that, just in case.
So that April of next year, 25 time deadline that we're talking about, I mean, the warrant goes to the printer April 1st. So it probably should be before April, right? March. So everybody can look at it and stuff.
And which one of those is connected to a ballot question? The 2025 or the 2026?
It would depend, like definitely 2025, the first big number. And then if there's additional borrowing that needs to happen, we'd have to go back again. But that's not going to happen because our numbers are going to be great.
It might be helpful to send that after, because we've gone through all kinds of dates with different percentages attached to different dates verbally, and we're scribbling things down. Maybe send out like a complete summary with, on one side, here's the dates, and on the other side, what percentages of different things have to be done by that date, so we can, right?
We can do that.
Visualize it.
Kind of like.
Yeah, yeah.
I think we'll have that in our contract documents also,
Absolutely,
when they get delivered.
which is supposed to be today, right, Jackie?
Tomorrow morning,
They're just being approved. They're at some higher approval level.
Still 8 hours left in the day.
I know, right? And so that's what I want to definitely, I'm going to push GAD to be at the next meeting that we have in June. I was trying to get it all together for this, but we didn't have contracts, so I thought, what's the point? And what is the next meeting date? Because I think I might be at a housing conference. I can never remember whether it's the second
Tuesday.
or the
It's the
third.
second Tuesday, but
Second Tuesday in June.
Would be the 11th.
Be the 11th.
The 11th?
Could we push it off to the 18th? Or, I don't know if we'd be ready on the 4th, so. All right, we're going to push it off till the 18th.
3 o'clock?
Yep. And hopefully we'll just do wastewater. So thank you, Hillary. Does anyone have any
Thank
questions
you.
for Hillary? Because she's not going to probably stay around for town hall. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hillary, I have a random question.
Sure.
Is there any plans to do any more alum treatments on any of the ponds that you know of?
Oh, yeah.
Not at the moment. We're working with Liz Moran from Anchor to review our most recent data and some of the pond sampling data from the Cape Cod Commission from their pond sampling. So later in the summer, we intend to hold a workshop seminar to review what her best recommendations are. So she's a limnologist, and that is her specialty.
Sure.
So my guess is it's coming, based on the number of calls and what we've seen. But she's the true expert, and she'll report back to us on her findings, and we'll update the community.
Yeah, and we do have some money, so far, we have it in the estimated budget for that 5.9 million. That includes ponds and.
Because one of the reasons I ask is because Orleans just was on their warrant last town meeting, or it is for the upcoming one, about Crystal Lake, and they have a price of $75,000, maybe it passed, whatever. Our treatment at Herring Pond was like over $200,000, and Great Pond was right up close to 200, 190 or something. I mean, maybe they're treating a much smaller area, or maybe they found a less expensive way to do it.
Well, and that's what I wonder, because it's been so many years, maybe the costs have decreased.
Yeah.
That would be
Permitting is-
unusual.
It would be, but
Well,
something's
permitting will
going.
still be a high cost. So I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah,
I can
well,
certainly look into it.
Definitely could give Orleans a call.
Yeah, for
when
sure.
that comes up. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Sil. You can drop off
Thank
if you
you.
want to.
Have a good day.
Hi, Hillary.
Sorry.
You guys don't have to stay if you don't want to.
Yeah, you gotta get that contract out.
Yeah.
Jackie's done her work.
I'm sure she has.
Yes, I do. You're staying for town hall. You're going anyway. Trying to sneak out on me. So I had a meeting this morning. I thought everything was going along swimmingly,
Good to see you.
Yeah.
but we have
Flushed
a,
me lately?
I think I sent them down there. I'll have to double check, but I sent them down there.
Well, I wasn't around, so I don't know.
I'll check, but I'm pretty sure I did. I think it was on the top of the list.
You bring these, Fred?
Yeah,
Thank you.
help yourself. Come on.
All right.
See you later, guys.
we have a problem with the masonry contractor. Have they talked to you about this yet? Okay. So the masonry contractor, we did, obviously, bid specs. We did some addenda that included some of the masonry, and we also had two, not one, but two, site visits that the subcontractors and contractors, general contractors, could come to. The masonry contractor that was the low bidder is a quality company, and we liked them, but they did not come to any of the initial
Pre-walk.
pre-walkthroughs.
Thompson's?
Yes, so they, is it Thompson? Yes, Thompson Waterproofing. So they have basically asked for a almost $30,000 change order because all of the, what do you call it? Wait a minute. Lintels. All of the space below the lintels is rotted, and all those bricks need to be redone. That was highlighted in the plan. It was a matter of the addenda, and it was in the bid specs. So we're very clear that it's very similar to, it's actually worse than the one we had at the high school over the HVAC, where this contractor is just saying, no, it's too expensive, and he's walking away. So Thompson says, as you notice, there's nobody working today. They have walked away, and we've sent a letter to the Attorney General's office, basically to say, can you make them work under protest at least until we can negotiate this settlement? So that's ongoing. I met with Chris Ray this morning, the building systems owner, and he would like to, he's very concerned. He loves the quality of the two masons that are on the job, but then they always come with extra people. And he's like, there's nobody supervising this site effectively in terms of the general contractor. So he wants to take control of the masonry bid and finish out the project. Part of the reason he wants to do this, obviously, is because it's supposed to have been closed out by Memorial Day, and this delay is just causing mayhem. And so he wants to work with those two masons and get the job done, and he thinks he can do it more effectively than the masonry contractor. So he's going to propose that to Thompson's Waterproofing, that he takes over. We would have a change order, but it wouldn't be, he wouldn't recoup any of his costs. He's just trying to finish the job so it doesn't cost him more money to stay. So that's what we're trying to work out. Again, the quality is good, the work they're doing is good, but they have already done one whole section that wasn't in the contract at all. Did you notice that?
Justin told me the other day when I
Yeah.
ran into him.
And it's random, like I was trying to, we've all been
That would've been part of
living
this.
with this now for like 8 weeks, and we've been trying to figure out what the system is, because someday you'll come in and there's 3 guys, and the next day there's nothing. but they're not in the section over here. They're not moving this way or moving that
Random,
way.
yeah.
So Rich, you know how Rich is, he comes up with, pulls it out of his whatever. He says to me, I know there's a sequence. They're going like from high to low, and they're just moving around. That's why they're everywhere all the time. I'm like, okay, well, that makes sense, maybe. But Chris says they are not. It's truly a random thing, and it's costing.
Where the sun is that day. or
Yeah,
something.
it's just not good. It's not good. So he's gonna, so I have said to him, yes, go and negotiate with these guys and see
The
what you
two-
can do.
The two masons that everybody likes, are they employees of
Yeah, I was
Thompson?
gonna say.
Yes,
Will they stay working for,
yes, I think they will finish the job, and we will work out some sum that is acceptable to both parties.
Did the contract have anything, Thompson's contract in it about working under protest of something like this?
Yes, that's why we wrote to the Attorney General. But the problem is, as you know, Peter, when we get into these public bid disputes or public work under protest disputes, it costs everyone money every day that goes by. So, I want this project finished, God knows. Chris does, because now he's saying to me, I can't, we can't spray, we can't loam and seed. If we get into June, you don't have irrigation, so this is going to be a problem. So it's just,
Domino effect.
he's seeing the domino, and he wants to stop it while we can. So,
obviously, they're all bonded, right?
yes.
You don't want to go that way because that takes time.
Well, we could, but it's just over how much money? We're talking 20, I think we could probably get it from 30 down to $20,000. For $20,000, do we want to do it? And I hate to be in that position, but on the other hand, I don't want to make a point and have the town spend $100,000 to make a point, right? So especially with a project that is over budget, we're clearly over budget, and
They're not trying to bill us for the section they didn't. they weren't
he
supposed
doesn't
to
think
do,
so.
right?
He doesn't think so. He's not even sure
They might not
they
even know
realize
that-
that, yeah.
What's Chris's thoughts as to when he would either come to a deal with them or not?
He's working on it right now. So I met with him this morning, and hopefully it'll be this week, and by next Tuesday, they'll be back on the job. But,
And the deal would be, if he could get them to go for it, that he would supervise the two good guys.
Mm-hmm.
and the rest.
and we'd pay their laborers, but
Negotiate a price on
something,
the-
yes. And he doesn't want to charge, he won't charge us the cost escalation or,
Oh, he wouldn't put that
no,
on.
he won't put that on, because he wants to finish this.
So if that worked, is there anything negative to that at all, as far as any repercussions? Because
No, it's just
We lose 20,000.
odd. We lose 20,000, and we have a delay,
I'm
and,
saying if Chris took over,
You still gotta pay him
so
20,000.
he still wants the 20,000?
yes.
Jackie thinks that's what it's gonna take to.
Well,
get
he's
him
going to have, yeah,
to Go
because
for it.
Because they're gonna still have to pay these
Yeah.
laborers to do the work.
the good ones, we want to keep the good ones.
The work that they were.
The real masons, we want to
That
keep the
was on
real
the
masons
plan.
on the job.
Yeah, it's baloney, but,
It is baloney.
So it's $20,000 or you shoot
yeah,
yourself?
$20,000, you paid 40,000 to the lawyers.
Right.
Yeah, and 20.
And you don't get it
And the
done
20 in the end, right? Because then the lawyers negotiate it, yeah.
until Memorial Day, right.
So
Once Chris puts his reputation on the line, he'll make sure it's done.
he is really, we've been so lucky. I really want him to bid on the Massasoit job, because it's a really hard contract. None of the general contractors liked this job because there's so many little pieces.
All kinds of strange little things.
Yeah, and the masonry bid is the biggest portion, but all the other sub-bids were tiny, and so that's the unanticipated one. The anticipated one is when I got here in 2014 as the assistant, I was told there was a list of capital projects that were undone. One of them was the HVAC system at Town Hall. Fast forward 20 years. The price I got for 2 additional coolers, what are they called? Condensers. Was $10,000 apiece, so $20,000 at that point. And we had the 20,000, but we didn't, they wanted to move them indoors. There was some engineering that needed to be done. We didn't do it at that point, and we've just been praying that they last, basically. So when part of this job was disconnecting all the air handling units, the condensers, building a new pad, organizing them together, and reconnecting them. When they disconnected them, 2 out of the 4 died. The same 2 that I should have replaced in 2014. I mean, it wasn't my personal responsibility, but that we knew should be replaced in 2014. And so, again, Chris asked, do you want us, it's in the contract that we reconnect them. So do you want us to get a price on new ones so that we can reconnect new ones? Unfortunately, they're so old. The internal systems are also old. What?
Different
Code
refrigeration.
issues, right?
Yeah, so we're trying to, they found the units, they priced the units at 26,000. So we are moving forward with getting 2 new units, because it'll take us probably another 2 years to get all the mechanical engineering done for a new system anyway.
All the way from,
So, so we're going to move forward with that. And that, I think, will probably not, I'm not going to charge that necessarily to this budget. I'm thinking that that'll come out of the town hall repair budget, John, because, you know, and then the connection will be Chris and his staff and the electrical guys.
Is that's this change order 10? Is that what you're?
It's going to be a change order, and is it change order 10?
There was one, yeah, it said the, add new HVAC
Yep.
condensing units.
Okay, that's it, yeah.
24,000. No backup came with that, about,
I have not received it yet.
okay.
Yeah.
But there was, offsetting it was this $22,000 credit from Tilton Electric.
Oh, okay, so we'll,
So it's
we'll see when we
Change
get it,
order-
yeah.
The proposed change order is only $1,300, but that's a lot of electric to take out. What did we take
Well,
out?
we eliminated tons of electric. So we eliminated some extra, they had extra lighting that I felt we did not need. I mean, it would have been beautiful if you were in Falmouth, but in Eastham, we just don't need a lot of external lights. I wanted them to light up the cupola, but they had something like 9 lights around it, and we reduced that to maybe 5, something like that. So we did a lot of that. We took out the handicapped parking, but that's not included in electrical. But we eliminated some electrical going into the project, and I can't remember what it was.
Almost 23,000, yeah.
There's a whole element we took out before they even contracted, and I can't remember what it was, but we knew we'd get an electrical credit. Obviously, it would be bigger if we didn't hook up air condensing units, but, I mean, it's getting warm now, so we need them.
Yeah.
Outside of spending the money, this is something you had to do regardless.
Anyway, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's a bit of a waste, because if we have to upgrade the whole system, we will most likely have to upgrade these again. But on the other hand, you know, the price difference from 10 years ago to now is minimal. I was very shocked, because I had no idea what they would give us for a price, so.
Is somebody looking at the bigger project, like the boiler room and all that stuff we saw the
Yeah,
other day?
and so we've got Rise Engineering, and who else? And
Rise didn't want to do it.
we're looking.
Brightly, we hired a contractor, Brightly, to do a capital outlook on all the town buildings
Yeah.
and all the mechanicals, electrical, everything.
But we need a mechanical engineer to redo the whole system.
For this building.
For this building, for police and
For
for
every-
fire.
Police and fire are in tough shape right now as well, as far as the age of the units and,
So what's this, it's going to be an assessment, but it's not going to be the actual engineer?
No, they're just saying, what would it cost if we replace things as they are now? And what we want is, we replace the whole thermostat system. What we need to do is have somebody look at the whole heating system. And we do have some funds available from Green Communities for that. So it's not like that would be 100% on us. We do have, I want to say, like 150,000.
So these HVAC units are kind of a Band-Aid to get us
Exactly.
couple of years till we
couple of
can-
years.
And they can hook up to the existing internal.
Yes. Which is kind of a miracle, because the first
Yeah, yeah.
wave of news was not good. They were like, we can't find anything that's compatible.
Including the heater under the
Right, I mean,
ventilated front
They
step.
did answer the question about the ventilation, that we do not need it any longer. We needed it at some point 25, 30,
Before they
40,
put the heater in,
80
probably.
years ago, I don't know. So they are going to close up all of that.
They're gonna, the masonry contractor is
I-
gonna brick up, because those are in the
Think so, yes.
sides, yeah.
Yes.
We can get the masonry contractor back to work. Okay.
Or Chris will do it himself, I don't know.
Who's doing the front step? Is that the same guys?
Yeah.
It's taking a while.
And they weren't supposed to, they were just supposed to replace one piece, polish, clean and polish and replace. It wasn't supposed to be a,
And I think structurally, Justin kind of wanted them to make sure that it, you know,
It looked a
That
little
first,
shaky
yeah.
under there, those brick
Exactly.
pillars. Right.
but those sorts of things were anticipated, because, you know, it is a very old building, and we haven't done, I mean, even when they did the addition, I'm not sure how much, clearly, how much structural work they did in the old part of the building, so.
Anything out there?
So I can't wait for this project to be over. It is our first project that has been over time and over budget since I've been here, 10 years. So, can't wait for it to end.
You want to talk about change order 9?
Yeah, sure.
So is that a done deal? Because there was some discussion about how they were going to do the base of that cupola.
Yep.
They were going to do it with the architect kind of wanted him to reconstruct what's there with the coins on the corner and the clapboards.
Yeah, and
But
they
the
want to do a
proposal is to do it
plain,
with corner boards.
yeah, because
which
that's
sure is
more
gonna
the,
be less money.
yeah,
And that's where,
that's where we're
That's where we're
going,
going now.
yeah. Because I'm going with the pictures
you get
and
a
what
little
was-
bit of trouble on that
I could?
with the CPA. Because CPA, it's happened to the church in Brewster, where they used vinyl siding and maybe PVC.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they used vinyl siding on the whole church. Anyway, the CPA law says for historical preservation projects, you have to retain as much of the original fabric of the building as you can, and where you can't, you have to use as close to the original materials as
But
you-
that is not original, that's what we found. It was replaced in the 80s, remember?
Well, the top part.
Yeah.
But this is the base,
And you're sure the base is old?
well.
Because I thought
looks
it
like-
was.
Well,
oh.
they put vinyl siding
they
on
put
it.
siding
Yeah,
on it.
yeah.
So,
So
but they didn't
now
use
it's-
CPA money for that. I mean, I think you,
But
I think you'll
now we're
probably
going
get
back
away
to
with
an
it.
original look, rather than the siding.
That's what we're trying to do.
Right, right. So
Well,
we're,
the vinyl siding would come on, is vinyl clapboard siding? I bet a lot.
oh, you're saying,
Underneath that was real wood.
okay, so you're
clapboards.
saying clapboard, all right, yeah.
Should, you
So
know.
if that came up, we could, definitely, we'd end up putting
Paying for it in another, out of
Putting
another
Yeah,
fund.
clapboards on
just
it, which,
use
which
regular
our
money.
building maintenance.
Right.
guys
The way it
do.
came up in Brewster was, there's also a fine print at the end of, with CPA historical projects, you're supposed to submit to the State Historic Commission when you're all done for them to sign off.
Okay.
And when they went to sign off, they came down and looked at it and said, you gotta give us all that money back. But.
Well, I think
it's
with
such a
this
small-
one, we're
it's a
comfortable,
thing.
yeah.
And we've done that in Eastham with other projects where we go, yeah, you gotta, like with the Chapel in the Pines.
Hmm.
A lot of the work out back wasn't original and stuff, so they used their money that they fundraised for that part, and we used the.
And we can,
CPA
in
money.
this case, we can do that because we are taking almost $100,000 out of our,
So you're covered.
more, 250
And
now.
I think it'll look fine.
The other big
the other way.
non-historic issue is the color of the cupola. So historically, the cupola was white. No one alive remembers that, but it was in the original pictures that we
The
found,
top of the dome,
the dome.
It's white on that quilt up there.
yeah.
There you go.
It is white on the quilts.
It might just be a reflection.
I'm terrified. I'm terrified because I've gotten, I mean, everyone, the general consensus is that people like it, the blue.
Yeah.
So I was gonna replace it with blue, but I'm very worried about having a painter just paint it blue because it's not gonna look like, you know, it looks now, which the holes actually make it look like an aging copper thing, right? So once it paints just blue, so,
It's gonna be blue.
it's gonna be blue.
Wipe it.
Right, well, Justin said to me, why don't we just, you know, spray it, like, you know, finish it somehow, and I'm like, it has a hole in, it literally has a hole in it.
We have to
Oh, it
repair
does?
it.
It
so
looks
once
like
we
it's
repair
it looks like it's a burnished finish, but it's really a hole.
Oh, no. And
So
that's
there's no
fiberglass.
way, yeah, there's no way to,
And a fiberglass repair it like
Yeah,
we do with
yeah,
boats.
yeah.
And then paint it.
And then
either-
have to paint it,
either
yeah.
white or
now, if
blue.
we had a great painter, they could do some gold or some
Yeah, they could.
copperish spots on it, but
Have an artist do it
I have
instead
to
of a
talk
painter.
to Chris.
You can get Dale, go up there.
I'm trying to keep my mouth shut because my wife did a front door on an incredibly expensive house in Orleans on Pleasant Bay.
Well, we have
A
the
10-foot
truck.
With to make it look like, I
Yeah.
don't know why, these people had so much money, I don't know why they just didn't make a copper door.
Right.
But they hired her to make a wood door
That
look
looked
like
like
aged copper. But we don't want to go down that route, trust me. I don't want to go down that route. So flip a coin and paint it blue or white. I don't think you
Yeah, I
don't lose any sleep over it.
I mean, it'll get old regardless. It'll grow fungus or it'll have something, but,
Kind of, even when it was new, that color looked sort of like
Good,
aged
yeah.
copper.
yeah. Well, John Keenan, the architect who, you know, he should have been an interior designer. He hands
Yeah,
me
he's
this piece of paint chip and says, this is the color that burnished copper is supposed to be. And it's green, you know, it's green. And I'm like, I understand that, John, but the cupola is blue. We're not gonna go green. Okay, if I pick a third color, this is,
It's
you know.
not gonna be green.
I understand these things, like in Wellfleet, when we were doing the water tower, my first water tower was in Wellfleet, and they were like, we should have a contest and paint the water tower. I'm like, I was the chairman of the Board of Selectmen, I'm like, are you crazy? That's the worst thing we could do. Because for every 5 people that love it, there'd be 10 people that hated it, or 20 people who wanted the other design, and so when we started painting, they were like, what color do you want the tank? I'm like, tank white. I want it tank white. It's a bluish white, blends with the gray sky.
No,
Anyway,
white's probably the safest
so
choice.
it's got to be white or blue.
You know, the porch ceilings where they paint them that rabbit's
Yes,
egg blue?
yes.
It's called paint, I think. It comes from the South New Orleans, and
Okay.
it was one of the characteristics that people thought they think it has is it keeps evil spirits away.
Perfect. That'll be what I'll say when they, yeah.
Keeping evil spirits.
Extra bonus.
Well, we have a paint color, so.
All right.
So do you guys want to, this subcommittee guys, you want to check in next week? Oh, I'll be away next week. That's why we're here today, the week after. I tell you what, I'll give Chris my number and we can talk next Tuesday to see what's going on with the Masons. Because I want them back at work.
Is this,
Absolutely.
I'm a little confused on this spreadsheet.
That's my spreadsheet.
Okay, she sent it out with the thing. I just want to make sure, see this 5,000 for the sign?
Yep.
That's actually in this change order. So
Oh,
I'm gonna
good.
make sure we're
Okay,
not
all right, we'll
carrying
take
it
that.
twice
That's
or-
excellent. And then the flagpole was
Flagpole I haven't heard any more about, yeah. Is it-
$2,715.
And that's coming out of this project money?
It's coming out of the additional services,
Right.
additional one. So, you know, if we have one more change order, the landscaping budget is really gonna shrink.
DPW it is.
Might have to have, well, at least Chris is gonna leave us with a garden
Yeah,
bed
he's gonna,
of lawn.
yeah.
So it should be easy to plant something.
I was reading this last field report from John.
Yeah.
Is there an issue with the nosings on the stairs going down to the basement? The balance of the nosings could not be installed during the concrete placement. K&K recommends reviewing with the town. What he's talking about? It said nosings were installed per plans on exterior stairs number 2. Is that number 2?
Is that out there?
Oh, it's
Is
over
that
there?
out there?
I think
And
it's-
only on top
Or
tread
this
for,
one.
I think
oh, and
it's
only on
this
top
one.
tread for basement stairs. The balance of the nosings could not be installed.
Yeah, I'm not, we were in a different meeting that day he came, so I'm not positive on that.
Just wondering if it's going to be another change order, or,
I wonder if it's, yeah, I'll have to.
don't they pour those in? The nosings usually,
Yeah, they got attachments.
so how are they going to put them on afterwards?
They didn't have them? Maybe, I don't know what the issue was.
He said he's going to.
I mean, we messed around with those stairs so much, we took off the granite caps of.
Right. Says he's going to review it with the town, so
Okay.
I hear from him.
He didn't,
Yes.
he wasn't here today, right?
Yeah, they were here.
Oh, he did?
But they didn't
I
review
saw
that with me.
Chris, but I didn't catch John, so. Okay.
Well, it's good news on that electrical.
Yeah, so we're still waiting for change order number 10, and obviously we'll have perhaps a change order number 11, and
That was included in this.
Yeah,
hopefully that'll be it.
yeah, 10 was included
10 was
without the
included in the
backup
Good.
for only $1,300. And hopefully, yeah, he'll get the mason straightened out. That's, so worst case is they say no.
I
And he
don't
has
see
to hire
how they
another.
could possibly say no.
Have they, I wonder how much they've been paid. He pays them, or they're a filed sub?
They're a filed sub-bid,
So you-
so
we pay
I'll
them?
check. No, I think he pays them. He
pays the filed sub?
Yeah.
If they say no, they'll be in court, and I don't think that's really
Yeah,
what
I
anybody
know, some-
wants ever, so,
Yeah.
Well, we got to push back a little bit.
yeah.
You don't want to fall on your sword either.
No, it's like a dance of,
They'll definitely hurt their references down the road, so.
Yeah. Yeah, just talked to Justin, I ran into him the other day, and he was raving about the quality of those two guys.
he's very happy,
Yeah.
yeah. But then they bring, it's like ants. It's like, you're moving along at this nice steady pace, and then all of a sudden, there's 6 people with drills.
Hammering away outside
Doing-
your
It's
office.
just,
Doing the wrong.
it's bizarre.
During the side of the
Yeah.
building that wasn't supposed to get done, yeah.
And I'm like, okay, there must be a method to this madness, but there really doesn't seem to be.
You assigned them from another job for that day.
High school.
Well, it
Do,
did sound like that one, only there's no, really, according to both Chris and John, there's no basis for this one, so we could really push it. I just don't want to push it beyond, I want to negotiate it, at least. Because I want them back at work, but
Rock Harbor? I was
Nothing's happening.
reading something about the Orleans Town Meeting, and they want to redo the bulkhead on the other side.
yep,
I'm pretty sure, they want to set it up so that the boats can go stern in,
okay.
which makes me think they're going to project further out into
Out
the
into
harbor,
the-
which could affect our side if we're still talking about building those docks
Ouch.
further out. But that's just sort of dead in the water now, or on
No,
hold?
we're moving forward. They did all of the testing over the winter.
They set the posts, right, at one point, the pilings.
Yeah,
I
in
thought-
Oh, that was during the
in the-
dredge.
During the
Yeah.
dredge,
Yeah.
yeah, they removed and reset in the same locations.
Same
They haven't
locations.
moved them out yet, that's,
But so there was some question about whether that was going to be worth it for, what'd we say, 10 slips for 800,000 or something?
Oh, yeah. More than that.
So are we going to do it, or?
We don't know. We're going to wait until we get a cost estimate, and then
Okay.
we'll decide,
So
yeah.
the cost estimate's what's in process. I thought you
Yep.
meant they were
Oh, yeah,
moving the
no.
piers.
No. They're moving along with the permitting, and we have to do the permitting in order to
'Cause we
get
have
to the
do that
cost
to get an
estimate.
estimate.
And then I think what we do is probably, I'll talk about it with you guys, and if you agree with me, then I'd go to the Board of Selectmen. So we to sort of try and cancel that project if possible.
Yeah,
And again, it's important to 20 people.
exactly, yeah.
So it's one of those things that,
Well, maybe with what Orleans plans for on their side, it might make it impossible to do anyway.
I think it's going to be increasingly hard. I mean, even with the dredge, it's not making the channel any wider, so. It's a rough harbor. It really is.
You ever see those old pictures before any of the bulkheads? It was just a little creek,
Yeah. A river, right? A river, yeah.
empty at low
Turned a
tide.
river
pretty
into
much.
a harbor, and we turned a river into a rotary. We made some great decisions back then.
To the Stop and Shop.
It's kind of like Florida, you know?